we are now.
Okay. Jeremy, Ben, are you guys ready to roll here? Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. And present is myself, Brenda, Kevin, Ben, Jeremy, Chief Mike, and Laura. Hello, Laura.
Hello.
And the purpose of tonight's meeting is proposed pay schedules to pay scale and compensation, and it continues.
And it continues.
It's a saga of sorts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I printed out what Laura sent in an email, so Laura, everybody has a copy of that in front of them to
Okay.
as we talk about that. And I just want to let everybody know that, and I already told Brenda that I took the liberty to reach out to Clemens Nelson, and they're a firm that does. What's their specialty, Laura? I mean, they do employee relations and.
Yeah, like personnel issues. They'll do handbooks. They'll go to court for you if you have a personnel issue. They'll do pay rate studies and schedules and things like that.
So I'm waiting on a return call from them. I threw out the idea to them that I'd like to talk to them about, what we're talking about here, our employee manual, kind of going over our current ones and just kind of getting everything in line, and just to kind of maybe get a price on to see what it would cost for them to do it. I know from previous employment, they did our employee manual, and it was something. They took our manual and kind of went through it with fine-tooth comb and brought everything in compliance, and it was pretty neat. So I'm still waiting on that, just to kind of throw that out there to you. So, because I think that would be some great help.
Okay. Obviously, we need the council's okay to actually employ them, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So that's out there. Okay.
Did you look at the Lexapol one I sent you?
I did not, Mike. Not yet.
Okay. First of all, I guess, Laura, one reason why we wanted you to come on board was in all the different things we've talked about, there's always the, if everybody got to the top of their pay scale, could we afford that?
Right. And that's what I included. You'll see at the top, it says increase of pay rate max.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how that would affect those funds. Let's say everyone made it to the max, and I based it off of, their hours, if they're full-time, part-time, where they're currently at compared to if everyone is at their max, and that's how that would increase each fund. So the worst one would be the police department, and then water fund, then general fund, and then street funds.
Okay.
And all those funds to the left, I have where those current, maybe not current balances, but I have like the beginning balance of the year, expected revenue, expected expenses, and then the balance at the end. So that's, like cash we would assume we would have left over. And those could all support that.
Right.
Oh, good. Okay. So there's no fears there.
I mean,
No.
chances are we're probably never going to get to the position that every single person's at the top of the pay scale.
True.
Exactly. But this is worst case scenario,
Right. Right.
and that's how I do everything. So
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
worst case scenario is you can't afford it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, good. Okay, then does that mean that, we talked about this at the last meeting, that we could actually recommend that we give at least a shift differential to the PD of like 25 cents an hour. So that's something that we can recommend, put on our recommendations list, the shift differential. And then we talked about bonuses for different evaluations
Yes.
and for education,
licenses and
licenses,
stuff like that,
dedicating
yeah.
permits, license and stuff. So it looks like we have enough that we can actually do bonuses for those.
Yes. Now, would those be raises or one-time bonuses?
That's something that we've talked about, but I don't know if we came to any conclusions on
Right.
that.
I mean, I think we need to discuss that with all of council, how
Correct.
I think that was one of the large things that, we're trying to get up here. And there's a lot of little things that are going to, parlay into this overall wage setting that we're trying to do. How we want to treat, appraisals each year. Is it something that's how you get raises, or is that how you want to do bonuses? You know what I mean? Employees could look at it both ways, which would be more beneficial. And, you could do both too.
Right.
Like the government does both. But, I feel like the biggest thing is we just have to look at the budget and, even on top of that, which, here's another thing that makes it up to the top is this is what we have as the current pay settings. I think that was really the original goal of what we're trying to get to, is to set a pay scale for each of the positions. So, to me, and I know we've discussed this, I feel like the whole council needs to be a part of that discussion.
Oh, I do too. Because they may have
Right.
different
Right.
opinions, ideas, and you're looking at it all wrong here. You're making it too
I
hard.
feel
or
we
this
should-
is too-
We
something.
should at least get a proposal so when we sit down with them, they have an idea of where we're at.
Yep.
And if they vote no, then we know where to come back and start at. So,
Rework it with their input. Okay, so that's what we need to do, is to get in writing, because I feel like we're spinning our wheels sometimes, that we're just going
Well,
over and over. And
Right, and that's kind of, what I'm trying to get to. It's a lot of stuff a lot of different things to meet the overall goal of what we're trying to get to. So, if we can focus on one thing, like the pay scale.
to start with, okay.
And I know we talked, and sorry I missed the last meeting. I'm not sure. I must have taken my stuff home with me. I know we had talked before about getting proposals from both of you on where you thought a ballpark pay scale was
for each
of
employee,
the
for
positions.
each position.
I don't know if we got that already or not. But
No.
I
Not
think
for
that
me.
would be a good jumping
Got
off
that from
point.
I think
Chief
we did
Holler.
for Mike.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
that we
didn't-
did from
I didn't
Kevin
get mine
yet.
yet. Yeah.
Actually, if we are going to consider employing, did you say their name was Clemens Nelson?
Clemens Nelson. Yeah.
If we were to employ them, if it's a friendly price, and we could do that, that's something that I'm sure they would be able to help us immensely with the pay scale.
Right. Yeah. And your thoughts, any on Clemens Nelson there, Lori? You've had experience with the pay scale there.
Yeah, they're a really good resource. I worked with them at a couple different places for different things. Their rates are reasonable and comparable to other places, that we've checked with for different things, whether it's handbooks or, just representing us for employee issues. But I will warn you, they are very slow. So don't expect, like a quick 2 or 3 month turnaround. It's going to take a while. But when you get the product or whatever they're making for you, it is very thorough. It's, very compliant, legal, and they will back you up if there's any issues. So we had an issue with an employee, and since they did our handbook, she came in when it was time for disciplinary action, and she kind of took over the whole meeting and was able to resolve a lot of issues with it. So they're very, very helpful. I would at least, entertain like a quote from them or something.
We already paid $5,000 an entry fee a couple years ago, and then we just paid a $2,000 fee for Lexapol at our end. We have it. Yeah, we have a full policy manual, and they gave me one for an admin end. I sent to Kevin. You just have to review it. All you got to do is enter the names, and it's all updated federally and all that. And their risk
Oh,
management.
that's good.
Yeah, it's Lexapol. That's what most police and fire agencies, a lot of them go with.
Right.
And we've already.
I've
paid
never
that
seen
already.
like a village admin have that, so I didn't know they offered that as a product.
Yeah, they do. They do a government and private sector, or that government.
Okay.
I sent that out. I can email it to you too. They sent me the thing. It's
Good.
pretty standard. It's like anybody else, but since we've already paid that with the PD, maybe. And we get a discount.
Now with-
We get a discount through our insurance by being a Lexipol agency. We get
Right.
10% or something.
Would they offer any help with a salary schedule or anything like that?
I don't know if they do that or not. I can surely ask them.
Okay, we're waiting for Clem and Nelson to get back anyway, so go ahead and ask them that, and then we'll have.
Yeah, and I can
That'd be
forward
good.
out the original stuff I sent him about they'd had some stuff just,
Okay.
for this end. But that would be nice because everybody'd be across the board,
Right.
and it automatically records it in there. When they read it, it has a signature, online signature, so they can't say they didn't read the policy and all that. And then the updates are pushed out. Like we have daily training bulletins we're able to push out, which I'm starting to work on, but that's all in the cost. So,
Did somebody just join the meeting?
didn't realize we were.
I thought I heard it ring.
Yeah.
I was thinking of something. What was it? Okay, so we say we get the set salaries set, and then we go with how do they increase, and so we would need the manual to be updated so that we would be able to tell if someone was actually doing their job, because they would know what their job was that they were to be doing. Does that make sense?
Isn't that
Yeah.
what they did for you?
So
Yeah,
that's
our manual
basically
has
what
not-
you said.
Our manual has nothing to do with pay. I mean, it just simply has with obviously rules, which we already
Does it have like job descriptions?
we have those. We put them in there. No, it talks about just it just covers it pretty much covers everything. It goes into the intro. It describes each use of force. All the things we are not allowed to do. Like we have a breastfeeding policy. We don't. It has all of that. It covers all the updated federal mandates. Like as far as we can't handcuff people for a certain amount of time, or you can't leave the village without a supervisor's approval and such. It covers anything we want, but it automatically they work with you, so they enter the name chief, lieutenant, or whatever, and then it goes all across that. And you can we have a tattoo policy. We have our attendance policy is not in there because we also have a village handbook, which the council says we have to use. That also kind of contradicts a little bit the Lexipol one because there's I don't know how many pages our village manual is, but it was 20, where our policy
Does the
manuals-
village manual have job descriptions? Is that what you're asking about, Brenda?
We have job descriptions that we hand out at our end, but I could scan it and put it in the Lexipol manual. That's easy.
They're not in the manual per se. It's just on
So
file.
you do have them.
We do
yeah.
have them, yes.
Okay, and now I realize that the sworn personnel has different rules. Not too different, but somewhat different because their job's different. So the non-sworn personnel, they need to know what their jobs are. Their handbook needs to cover what they need to be doing so that we know the standard that they need to work up to. And
Yeah, we've always had job descriptions, and we've always
Well,
did
yeah.
evaluations every year.
of
I
course,
didn't know that they.
but I
weren't
don't know
everywhere
that
across the board.
I guess the non-sworn employees do also, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, but
With-
do they know what their standards are?
They know
Your
through the through the job descriptions. They know their job
Okay, well that's
duties.
Okay.
And then just through the evaluations, yearly evaluations. I mean, if
Right.
they're up to if they're completing all their job duties or up to standards per se or whatever.
Okay.
Right, and that's where the council, we will have to rely on the supervisors that are giving out the evaluations.
Exactly.
But I think what we need to get to is, if we're going to treat all employees on the, have them all on a certain cycle as far as evaluations, which we talked about, doing them 1 time a year, 2 times a year, however you want to do it. But if we get everybody to the same kind of cycle, then we need to figure out, as we just talked about, whether it is a bonus or if it is a raise in pay, or how the different steps are going to work out.
Right.
How when a person comes in, they should be able to know how to get to the next step. And I kind of feel like we probably are not there right now.
I agree.
Our current policy, even the old one, pre-2014, says that if you are doing the job of, for example, if you're doing the job of a supervisor for longer, I believe it says 2 weeks, with council approval, you'd be compensated at that rate of pay. Well, that's in the book, but I know sometimes it's done and sometimes it's not. So,
Right.
yeah, I agree. There's just kind of some broad confusion.
Okay, so, but it is in writing, so it should be not too confusing if it's in writing.
Well, I
It
would
just
agree.
needs
I
to
would
be-
agree with that, but it's
Right.
not.
I
let me
mean,
phr-
there's
let me
stuff
phrase
in
it.
our
It's-
manual
it's-
that
it's not practiced across the board.
holiday pay and all that stuff that I guess it hasn't happened in the past, but it's in the manual, So I treat that a little different than I guess previous administration. So I don't know. So that's what those gray areas. Well, we didn't used to do it that way, and it's not fair. Well, I understand that, but
Right.
if it's in the manual, it should be doing that way.
That's
Yeah.
right, because the manual should be the guideline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think the biggest problem on our end is we start out at $12 an hour, and that's not too appeasing. But in the same token, I did the gross earnings of the employees. For the last 3 years, I could have went back farther, I suppose. But like in 2019, we spent according to the gross earnings, and I went by gross because that's what you work, right? It's hourly rate. Sure, that affects that, but we've spent $260,000 roughly in 19, 238 in 18, and then of course last year we were a little bit slower, and Chief Wilcox had retired, so it saved a little bit. We spent 212. So I know we can afford to pay 260 because we've done it, and I believe that year we came in a little short. But these new people that I bring in, or we bring on, it costs so much to get them in the door. And Officer Godwin, he left for $17.25 an hour and 40 hours a week, which he was getting 40 hours a week here anyway. But he left for $4 more on the hour. He loved working here. I did a post interview with him, and he told me that the technology at this agency, for its size, was very impressive, that the experience and the knowledge that he gained here was very impressive. The hours, he wished it would have been more consistent. He wished he had opportunity for full time. He was left empty on that. And the pay is why he left. He would have stayed. And I know we can't afford everybody,
Right.
but you know what I mean?
That's where I was going to go.
It's a couple
I get
bucks
it.
on the hour.
Yeah.
A couple, that's double a couple, though.
Yeah,
That's
double-
four.
yeah.
Well, it is, but
for that
now
one.
now we're paying somebody roughly the same amount. They're going to be, several hundred hours till they get trained. And he was trained. I get it. It is 4, but we've always asked for another full-time spot. I think we're going to have to get there eventually anyway. But, I just feel like we're paying a lot of $13, $14 an hour every couple times a year, it's almost like, I don't want to say setting it on fire, but it's kind of like what we do periodically. And I know you'll have that a little bit, but when people like working here, they stay sometimes. But either way,
Right.
I'll stop. I'll get off of that.
I just don't think we're ever going to compete with the sheriff's office or a city where they're going to go in and work full time.
Never.
I don't think anybody coming out of school, this is a great place for them to come. And, all of us hate the term stepping stone because it shouldn't be. But we're never going to get to the point, to me, that we're going to be able to compete with full-time departments as far as starting pay.
I agree with starting pay. I agree. But we do have, Officer Dunham, I don't hate to throw her under the bus, but she scored, she was number 1 on a test at an agency, a large agency, it is an accredited agency, and she chose to come here. And Dublin, or not Dublin, I'm sorry. Anyways, Delaware County. She chose here because it was kind of homely, friendly. She liked the chief and I. Godwin wanted to stay, but he was like, it's hard to turn down because he had bought a house. He's like, man, which if I could have moved him up to full time, he would have never left. And I get it. We can't do that with everybody. But we've had a lot of people. It was a stepping stone for me. I get
it.
A couple of the investigations and jobs is kind of, I don't know, miscellaneous. But yeah, I agree. We can't retain everybody, but people do, for the most part, like working here. Obviously, You're going to get those that come here and have a little rough time, but that's just business.
Yep.
We are a stepping stone, but these stepping stones are costing us money and backgrounds and training too, correct?
I don't think we're as much as a stepping stone as we used to be,
Right.
but it is a struggle functioning with the way we do at the level that we do with the minimum staffing that we do. And this is the greenest, and I say green meaning least experience, that we have been in years. So,
Okay, shh, don't let that out, okay?
well, I mean, yeah, I know, but we're progressively growing the ones we have,
Are, yeah.
but we only have a couple, yeah. So, okay.
Okay, so give me a summation, guys. What do you want us to do?
Well, I feel like that Ohio Municipal League thing that Kevin just sent out, I'll look through that. You know, I was just looking at it briefly. And I know we tried before, or I did, wasn't too successful, but I'll try again. You know, we can group them into, like, it has a census column. You know, we can try to get same size municipalities, see what they're paying. And it doesn't necessarily need to be that way, but it would just give us at least a jumping off point to where, you know, the same thing, you know, if you can give a recommendation of, here's what I feel like this position's worth.
Right.
If we can just get a jumping off point, I don't feel like we should come up with that. Other than if we were to go by the Ohio Municipal League, same size communities, and just run it straight off of that. But, you know, we just don't have the daily interaction and know what everyone's doing and how much a position's worth.
Okay, so basically you're saying don't reinvent the wheel.
I mean, I don't think we need to.
Right, and I agree.
I don't even.
But I would agree we do need to look at the rates that
Right.
the ranges, not necessarily the rate someone's making right now. We need really ranges. You know, here's what someone coming in with no experience should make, and top out. You know, that's going to be a pretty broad number, but the village is going to have to come up with something that this is the most this position's worth. I get it if someone's been here 30 years, it's not the best place to stay if you feel like you have all this experience, you could get paid more somewhere else. I get it.
Right.
The village can only afford so much. This is what we feel like this position's worth.
Okay. And
Our officers are comfortable with the pay. All officers would like our new people to start, our part-time particularly, to start out higher. All I did was on the full-time, I bumped it down to 5 years to top out, because I know that as the years go by, wage and hour goes up. They would just like to see a shift differential, and then the vacation or our holiday pay, since our full-time officers are sometimes forced to work holidays anyway, just maybe pay it twice a year. The 10 holidays we have every 6 months. I know a lot of people do that because they're still getting paid whether they work. It'd be nice just to give them to that. Like, and that municipal thing, I believe it's a little off. It must go by gross earnings, because the reason why, I know why I made that much, because it kind of messed my taxes up a little bit. I had to cash in a lot of my vacation because I wasn't able to use it, which counts as income. And I think I did 60 hours maybe, if not this year. Anyways, so, but it's hard to, that's another thing. It'd be nice to have a few more people so we could take off without hurting the other person, so to speak.
okay, so even if we have, which we don't have, maybe 2 employees that are at top right now? I'm sorry, non-sworn.
I have none, yeah.
Non-sworn.
It's like one.
Just one? Okay, just the one. Well, is that something that we can maybe offer a bonus, a year-end bonus for?
They already get the cost of living raise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all employees get that.
I mean, even if it's a small bonus, just a bonus to say thank you for staying with us.
I agree. I think the month, you know, I said it before, the 5, 10, 15, or even, 2, 5, 8, 10. I don't know how you do it, but yeah, that would be really nice. They'd like that.
Okay, back to Jeremy. Match up the municipality sizes, but you also have to match up what their budget is, because every municipality doesn't have the same budget size-wise. So you'd have to find one that's within
Right.
our.
I mean, and that's kind of the flaw of going about it that way,
Yeah.
because there could be a same size community that has double the budget that we do.
Right.
I was looking at, I mean, just off the top, the mayor was the first column. There's a municipality the same size as us that the mayor makes $65,000 a year is part-time. So
Are you moving?
obviously there could be a lot of differences.
Yeah, there will be. Okay.
And maybe he does something else there, and that's his
Right.
title. Could,
And see, that's the other thing, you know, you can look at the job title, but that's matching it up to maybe what Kevin has on his side could be difficult. You know, it could have, I guess the water operator could probably, those are probably pretty common, but the guys that mow or work on the streets, I'm not sure how they would be classified in the Ohio Municipal League data, but I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
But there definitely could be a flaw just on the budgets.
Okay. So, like I said at the beginning, to be continued.
well, I know for most positions other than the police department, you guys have pay ranges. We have pay ranges.
Right.
But at the PD, we have a pay scale. So that was, we'll do either one. It'd just be nice if everybody was on the same. I just found out last year. I didn't know. I was sitting there. I was like, oh,
So
That's way
what's
different
the
than ours.
difference between the two?
I thought you guys had a range too.
we did a long time ago, and then in 2017,
Here's what they
the
passed.
council approved a pay scale.
Here's what the council just passed.
Oh,
and
right,
everybody's on
that's
a
here.
range here.
Right.
On this one.
And like the police officers are on
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Well, they are, but we have in 17 we approved that pay scale.
Is that one?
No, that's the one I just passed you. That's the one I revised a little bit.
Oh.
But no, the pay scale, here's 17's. This is the one you got. That was the one I was.
So if the scale isn't matching up with what we approved,
Oh.
I mean, we have a problem anyway. We need to.
Well, not only do we have a problem, it was confusion because the pay scale was only applied.
We shouldn't have approved pay ranges the first meeting of the year if they're not the same as what those are.
If they're not in line with that. No.
Right.
Right.
And you're saying they're not, Mike? These ranges aren't in line with that? They're your scale?
That's first. I've seen those before. I knew there was one for. So when I wrote that at a lieutenant status. When I was lieutenant, I wrote that pay scale. I didn't do a supervisor's pay scale because I was the only supervisor, and I asked the chief to do it. But we had that. We knew we had that pay range. I just hadn't seen it.
Is this your proposed one, though, correct? That you gave me?
That's the proposal, but the one I just passed
Right.
you is the one.
The actual-
yeah,
this
it
is
says
the
it at
actual
the
one
top.
working
Yeah,
off
it says
of-
it. Yeah, it says approved by council February 2007, January 2017.
17,
Kevin, what's
yes.
the range say for an officer?
Yeah.
But
Police
do-
officers, $12 to $24 an hour.
So that's within the range of our scale.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And see, the scale, I think, is really what we need to focus on, not looking at people and positions. It's the positions. This is the range that we feel like this position's worth.
Right.
I agree.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. Not the person doing the job. The
And
job
then if we
itself.
get to having pay scales, or this is how you grow in or get raises in your position, then you would have a scale that goes along with that falls in that range.
Yeah. We originally had that, and we weren't getting raises consistently. So the chief Wilcox and I came up with that, but then that didn't work because they forgot about me in it, and then. I'm just saying, and it was brought up, and it's like, well, they. I'm like, who is they if they approved that? But yeah, I agree. I just like to see everybody on the same page.
Me too.
Okay, so our goal is to get everybody on the scale with the scale working within the ranges.
Right. I think the ranges have to come first, and then figure out how we want to, if it's a length of service thing, or if it is a meet your evaluation each year. It's this amount. That's the biggest decision as far as
Well, I am in favor of meet your evaluations, so there's people doing their job instead of just,
Exactly.
What's the word I want? Cruising instead of.
Which is kind of the opposite of
Doing
how
anything.
the government works, which is what Dave brought up in
We
one
want
of
to
the
improve
meetings.
the government here in Enon, right?
Yeah, I'm not talking local government.
I know
I'm
you're
talking,
not. I know you're not. Okay.
But yeah, to me, it shouldn't just be a length of service kind of thing. Unless, well, it shouldn't be unless. As long as the supervisors are giving fair evaluations, true evaluations, length of service would be okay.
Unprejudiced
Yes.
evaluations.
Yes.
You hear that, supervisors?
We have what's called a personal improvement plan down there. If you're not meeting the basic minimum, we put on a personal improvement plan, and they have to. I mean, we've had several successfully do one, and we've had several not several. We've had a couple not successfully complete one, and then they lose their job. And then we have them that have ones that successfully complete them. Those are nice, but it's hard to do. It's very taxing to keep up on what everybody's doing, and you have to.
Yep.
You got to be fair because everybody makes mistakes.
Sure, and you're also not shadowing everybody every
Correct.
minute of the day. So,
Yeah,
okay.
we are with cameras, but did you guys want body cameras down there at the?
Yeah, do you want body cameras in the other end of the village? Okay. Okay, scale within the ranges, raises according to evaluations, the evaluation cycles, we need to talk about that. And I think we did the last time because I think we came up with
Yearly
Where
and
did
doing
you
them
write
all
it?
in basically
yearly on the
January.
anniversary of hire,
See,
date of hire or anniversary date of hire.
Yeah, that's
Or
the confusing part. I
every-
thought we were
It's
just going to
more
do them
difficult.
yearly in
Every
January.
January.
I would do them every.
That's what
To me,
I think
I
it
would
would
do
be
every
easier for
January.
everybody to do it first of the year.
Yep,
Yes.
Yep.
I agree.
Or
Agreed.
And-
which includes last year. Or you do it first of the year, which includes the year prior, correct?
Well, so
Or
like yeah,
prior,
it's
Yeah,
the year
it's-
prior.
yeah. End of the year. You could say end of the year evaluation or something.
Done in January.
Done in January.
Because you want to include all of December.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
And I know
So-
it sets you up to miss somebody occasionally. But so like in the federal government, we'll say the cutoff is July 1st, I think. If you weren't in your position by July 1st, you got an evaluation, but there was no bonus/raise that went along with it.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that would make sense on paper because that's kind of what we were doing, and that's how I hiccuped on Officer Dunham's last year. But thankfully, that was corrected.
So, but we need to articulate that in
Right.
our approval
Yes.
because then somebody's going to come back and say, well,
Yep.
I didn't understand it to be that way, and then complain and whatever. So if we articulate that. So end of year and recommend July, is that what you're thinking? At least a half a year, and then just get an evaluation in the year for half a year, no bonus or raise considered, and then go from there.
Well, they get a 6-month evaluation after 6 months, so I kind of feel like
You do because,
you could say July anyway because, I mean, realistically, how it falls.
but you don't, you do I mean, your officers are on probation for 6 months.
6 months.
No matter when they're hired.
That's correct. And then they get evaluated.
And then you get of course.
And then I give them a yearly. 6 months later, I give them another evaluation for their year,
Okay.
which is kind of silliness, sort of.
So can you work it into the,
Well, we're already doing that. I can do that just fine. We
Okay.
already do that.
so end of year
Yeah.
after July?
Yeah. We just do it on their anniversary date of hire. So to pick it all
Until-
1 month, it's not a big deal. They get yearly evaluations.
Okay. I think I understand what you're saying.
We
So if
do
they're
them
hired in
already, so it wouldn't be an
November-
issue.
They still get evaluated. I mean, they haven't met,
If they were hired in November, they would get one
they
6
don't
months.
get one for just for 6 months.
They get one in January. If
But
we
they
go
would get,
this route.
you could do
Yeah.
one in January just to
On
get them
probation?
onto just to get them onto the cycle. Is that asking too much of?
I mean, it really wouldn't mean anything,
Right.
but we'd want to
But it
get
would put you
everybody.
on the same page.
January, we're doing an evaluation regardless if you've been here for 2 months or you've been here for 20 years. Now, I get you're still going to have to do one at their 6-month probationary period.
Correct. Right.
That wouldn't be an issue because they're evaluated. We do while they're in field training, they're evaluated
Right.
daily. So
Right.
yeah,
So
sure,
that-
we could just
that would
transfer
be-
it over.
okay.
It's not an issue. Non-issue.
Okay. So what else do we need to, the shift differential, everybody's on the 25 cent.
I just want to know what that would cost. So we have, there's 24 hours in a day. Let's see here, 2,080 hours in a year. I don't know how much of that is from 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. to whatever, but that's what we'd need to figure out roughly what that cost is. Laura, could you help with that? Do
So
you know?
what's the hours you're talking?
Well, I thought the afternoons for sure, but I know Councilman Hannah suggested in basically evening and night shift. So anything basically before, banker hours. So a 7 to 3 or 8 to 4 would not, but anything in the afternoon and evening, which would be 16 hours roughly, times 7 times 52.
And I
That's a
don't
lot
know
of
if I
money.
agree with
Is
in
Laura,
the afternoon.
Laura, are you still here
myself.
with us?
Yeah, I am. What was the question?
I agree. I don't know.
Okay.
that.
I think the evening
if
hours
we
would be
did a
your shift.
25
Like differential, I
cent
could see like
shift differential increase, because the police officers do not get any shift differential pay now. So if we did increase their pay to 25 cents an hour, can we afford
Like
that?
if they're on the night shift, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty minimal. Yeah, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I mean,
I've never seen it, though, anywhere for police officers.
Oh, a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
agencies around.
I've seen
here-
it like in factories and stuff, but I've never seen it on a police department. But yeah, 25 cents.
Yeah,
is
they have
minimal, so-
weekend. They have weekend pay and usually shift differential for third shift. Generally, most of your, a lot of the agencies do that.
So we're talking 8 hours. 8 hours out of the 24 would get.
regular pay.
I mean,
You're talking 16 hours are going to get 25 cents an hour.
That's my question.
without asking my officers, it's hard to find people to work the weekends, and with the staffing that we have, a lot of our full-time officers have to work the weekends, including myself. I feel like I think paying somebody to work the weekend a higher amount of pay versus working evening shift today or overnight today. Personally, it's my own 2 cents. I think that's probably more beneficial than a shift differential as far as second and third shift. Like, you got to work Saturday and Sunday. You get an extra 50 cents on the hour. Something like that from midnight Friday till midnight Sunday. That to me, you work in it. That to me is more appeasing than you're going to give me an extra quarter to work third shift as a police officer, which I know is 24 hours, 7 days a week. My 2 cents. But I'm not asking for a lot, but I think that would probably be more
Advantageous to your scheduling, correct?
it'd be more appeasing to somebody to work here knowing that they're going to have to work Saturdays, holidays, and weekends, that at least on Saturday they're going to make an extra 25 cents on the hour because they're here versus right now
What
working.
is our current? You said in the manual it talks about holiday pay. What are we supposed to be doing that we're not doing?
Well, we get holiday pay, but as a full-time officer, what has happened to me in the past, so you get 8 hours holiday pay, and then if you work the holiday, you get paid at time and a half. So an example, I work 52 hours. 8 hours of it I worked on a holiday. So the extra, what I know, I'm not Laura, the previous bill person, would pull that 8 hours of holiday hours out of the work week and only pay you you got paid the time and a half for working the holiday, but you didn't get paid the overtime hours for working past the 40 hours.
Right, and that's not right.
No, it's not
No.
right.
That's not right. She was. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know, but try experiencing it. And then, so my officers are used to it, but we try to work the part-timers on the holidays because we know as full-timers, not me now as a salary, but you know what I mean? The full-timers, you weren't getting paid.
How many holidays are we paying?
10,
10? That's what I thought I said.
which is pretty much a lot. So if we just paid them their holiday pay and a lump sum, then if they had to work the holiday, they would get paid time and a half. Those hours hopefully wouldn't get pulled out. And I try not to work anybody past 40 hours. I'm not the only one it happened. It happened to a bunch of us. But you guys wouldn't be aware of it because a lot of you guys aren't here, but we're here. and that's a lot of money. But again, officers aren't really necessarily complaining about the pay. They're just kind of complaining about not, they like a shift differential and they like more people. And they would like it to be across the board, like, why is it, and I'm sure those folks down there are the same way. It's just, we all work for the village entity, so again, pay range makes sense for each position.
Calculator time. So we're talking 24 hours for 52 weekends. No, we're talking 48 hours, 52 weekends, correct?
I don't. It was just a thought. That's just my.
I know.
let's
I'm
think
just
about it.
working with your thought here. So that's
Would you guys? I mean, you guys get called in on the weekend. Wouldn't you rather have a weekend pay than if you had to stay till 7? Because it doesn't really affect the street guys.
In duty, I mean, if something happens and they're just on the clock, and I mean, they already get paid. The water guys come in.
Yeah, they
After
get 2-hour
weekend
call-in
duty,
pay.
okay. So if you worked every weekend, I'm just throwing this out there. If my math is right, for 48 hours every weekend, that's 52 weekends.
Mm-hmm.
At 25 cents per hour, you'd get another $624.
There's 6 shifts on the weekend, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
But I'm just
Roughly
doing the
7.
whole
Yeah.
weekend. I mean, that's how much money it would cost us, $624. That's
At 25 cents.
at 25 cents. I mean,
Yeah.
can we afford that, Laura? Sounds
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, honestly,
mean-
I think 25 cents is a little low for that.
I
to be honest.
totally
I mean,
agree.
'cause,
But it's just.
I mean, and
Okay,
just for
so
my
let's-
own personal preference, my own experience, my base pay at German Township is one amount, but I work the weekends and I get paid about $5 more above my base to work
Yeah.
the weekends.
Yeah.
So if I even change that to 50
I mean,
cents, it's
so,
still
I mean,
Well, we could change it. To,
1248.
we could change it to whatever.
and I
but-
can honestly say German Township has zero problem scheduling the weekends.
Yeah, if we paid like an extra $1 on the hour, weekends would be a lot easier. But in the same token, like that would help. Like I said, they're comfortable with their hourly rate, but we work a lot of we're paying people right now. I get it. It's only $12, but I know we can afford 15 because that's not that much. And even paying them that extra buck on the weekend, it's just nicer. You just get more quality work when people aren't.
okay. So the committee here, us guys. we're-
Sorry, I'm trying to get back
That's
on topic
okay.
here.
So we can consider.
What time would you feel would be a good time for do like a differential?
Midnight Friday to Sunday night midnight.
Okay, for
Would
the
you agree?
weekends. What about like Monday through like the weekdays of like a third shift differential? Obviously, I don't think we should do $5 an hour for that, but
I mean,
or do you even think that's something that should be addressed?
I don't think it's necessary.
So
I mean,
you think-
I liked working third shift. I'll be honest with you.
Or for a weekend differential versus a Monday through Friday differential?
I think the weekend differential would benefit the village of Enon more
Okay.
than a week. I liked working third shift because it was just work and there's no nonsense.
I was thinking.
We always said less politics in third shift, right?
Absolutely.
Right, and you're busier, like you just said, during the daytime. It seems like that's when you should be getting the.
Well, it's a different breed of clientele.
I know it's a totally different breed of.
When you're working
And-
on third shift, you're working, and when you're not,
And
you
you
are, but
also
you're not.
have-
But yeah, your stress level goes 0 to 100 in like
And
2
you also
seconds.
have more people in the village.
Our daytime population is up there, that's for sure. But okay,
And even more so when the school opens.
that's why I need more staffing.
Right.
But anyway,
Okay, so
Yes, ma'am.
are we, the three of us, in agreement with the weekend rather than the,
Yeah, I would much rather do the
the weekend?
weekend differential than.
and
Okay.
and the call-in pay is legit. Okay.
So we have to come up with an amount? You already get holiday pay though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
an increase.
We don't get the 2-hour call-in pay like they do, but they do for court. But on other stuff, we've never been able to do that.
But you guys are basically coming in for a shift. is what you're, maybe not you.
I try to cover some holidays as much as I can because it doesn't cost us that much. No, when I would get, so on the weekends, as if I fielded, I would record like 50, if I got like 4 or 5 phone calls that were, a couple minutes long, I would just put 15 quarter hour on my time card. I wasn't ever allowed to put 2 hours. If I had to come in and fix the server or something, that was like 30 minutes. I didn't get call in. We didn't get call in pay. We were kind of told that if we did that, we would lose stuff.
What I'm saying is the officers that how often do you call somebody in the weekend or anytime? I mean, you're not calling people in to take care of a task.
No, it's
Officer
usually a
here-
supervisor that has to come in because there's something bad that happens,
Right.
or they got to go to court. They get their 2-hour call-in pay for court. That's the time they get it. Generally, that call-in pay affects the supervisors. Like, for example, the sergeant, he never. I told him he should and can, but he hasn't turned a slip in. But I mean, when we had that shooting, he gets, I'm not going to force him to drink the water, but I offer him the cup because I want to make sure that that's fair. Because that's what our policy says. But in the past, no, we did not do that, even though our policy said we could. It was shot down at payroll.
Okay. What else do we need to cover this evening?
It was.
I know it was. Trust me. I don't know. I think I like our positions have a top pay, and that's just that. And then, but you still get the cost of living raise, even though you make the raise, right? Wherever you're at in the scale. I think that was one of the biggest things that was on the plate. That's what kind of brought this up. I know you guys have the range, we had the scale. So when you council and the mayor handed out the pay, the cost of living raise, like for example, Officer Donald, she was the last one. I think she was at like I don't know, something in 35 cents. So instead of going up $1, which I know it doesn't say $1, but it leads you to believe $1, and then you get 60 cents when it's your year end. It's like, aw. But that didn't affect other employees. But then you said you guys didn't even give raises other than cost of living. But they had before, I know. So
Do we need to decide now what our recommendation to the council would be for the weekend increase? 50 cents, $1, $350 an hour. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I think we should. But they had before.
What?
That's just.
Oh,
I'd like to see that study if it doesn't cost too much from somebody that kind of does payroll things. Because I know we keep kind of repeating ourselves, but I think we're really making progress. I really do. I just know that this is the first time I've seen this happen here, so I know we're all patient. I think we're making progress. It's just
okay. So
talking about a lot.
the next thing to do is to look through and find the villages, cities that match us, and then go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is coming up with a range for each position.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to get some sort of a template to follow, or I think, or at least to compare before we actually put money or dollar amounts on there.
Even on that.
Yeah, because I mean, we could be way off or way,
Yeah.
I think the key is
only
we want to
thing-
stay competitive.
Yeah, that's why I was
Might not be
asking
the
to
best.
increase our starting pay of part-timers to 15 rather than 12. Just because I feel like we spend the money already, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it doesn't make a difference, but it sure make me feel better when I'm reading it over with folks. And it's what, 12, 13, 14, 15. I mean, I guess that is a little bit. But extra $100 a week maybe out of our pocket, which is $400 a year or a month. I don't know.
All right. Jeremy, what you're talking about is, do we have that? Is that what you're talking about, what you're looking at on your phone?
The-
Yeah,
Municipal
that's what
league?
Kevin sent
Oh, is
to
that,
us today.
okay,
That's
that's
what I
what,
emailed you.
okay, so that's what, and that's got the different breakdown as the sizes, and
Yeah.
so
Yep.
we know what to compare to. Okay, and how about,
Population from the census and all that stuff, yeah.
and I like what Ben said about using a template to fill in the numbers so we have, do we have something like that?
I have not seen anything like that myself, but
I can plug something into a
Yeah.
spreadsheet. It's,
I actually just hired a guy, Officer Tyree. That's kind of what one of his specialties. He's got a couple PhDs.
Okay.
He did logistics and he created a shift in Texas that they still currently use. Maybe I could ask him if he has anything and he could squash some numbers for us. If you guys are interested in that, I mean, I'd
Sure.
like to use all my resources.
Absolutely.
I'll talk to him.
Okay. I'd like to meet him, by the way.
What are we wanting? We just want to know what a shift differential would be, and then
In part, yeah, but I mean, for the whole thing, I'd like to have a template of some sort so we can start plugging numbers in.
okay. I will ask him, and then worst he can tell me is I don't know how to do that.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'll look through there to
Okay.
I'll try to line it up with our pay range guide that has all of our positions, and see what I can line up, and I'll send it to Kevin. I mean, that's really it. Mike's is probably, I don't know how they have the police split out, but I'll send it to both of you what I come up with, and
Just officers.
if we can
Sorry.
try to figure out which, like on Kevin's side, which positions would fall under a particular category.
Right.
At least you're gonna be able to, try to get a ballpark number wise, just from that data. But I mean, I still feel like it would be beneficial if Kevin, you would come up with a recommendation still. I mean, we can see if it lines up with what the municipal league data is showing. 'Cause like I said, there's going to be some ranges that we're not going to be able to explain, just for the fact of budget.
Right. But at the same time, they are positions that are already being filled and being paid, so we do have some guideline of sorts. Okay. We're not creating new positions or
Right.
anything. Not that we need any. We don't need any, right? Okay. Okay. So, anything else, guys?
But I can think of.
Time to think. Time to think. Okay. So, do you want to pick a date for the next meeting, or?
Maybe we should see how long.
Okay.
I feel like we need to get that data together.
Okay, that's good.
That way we can all look at it prior to and
Okay,
I get it
have a
ready, I
game
can
plan
email it to
going into
everybody.
it.
that sounds
For my
good.
portion, I can email it to everybody.
Laura, could the PD afford another full-time officer over the next couple of years?
Let's see.
Or could you send me some
If
information
you
and I'll
passed
do,
your levy again, I mean, yeah, you should end the year with 216,000.
okay.
You're bringing in more than you're spending, so.
I thought that, but I didn't. I don't have all the numbers, that's why I thought I'd ask you. I mean, I was going off the sheet, but I didn't want to second guess my math, or I didn't want to.
Yeah, I mean, if let's just say you pay somebody $20 an hour, that's 41,000 just in pay. Hold on, your retirement.
Yeah, and health
19%.
insurance. I gotta factor that in.
Right, so you're looking probably 55 to 60 for a full-time officer
I agree with you.
at 20 an hour.
Yeah,
So
which
yeah, you
would
could
be
afford it.
yeah. Okay,
Do we have that position on the books, or do we need to?
we've asked for it. We only have 4 full-time spots. I'd have to ask council to approve a 5th full-time officer.
Okay. And
But I can tell you when the school comes.
I was going to say, in part, it would be the school resource officer, probably, right?
Well, not necessarily that. I'm going to sit down with the superintendent, but the calls that are going to be generated from that are going to keep us busy whether we like it or not. But just what we offer the community, period, like just the events and stuff once COVID relieves, it's just nice to have. I'm sure it's nice for you folks. I know it's nice for me to have that cushion the security of knowing that officer's there versus you never know. Like Officer Godwin worked full-time hours, right? But then boom, he's like, hey, by the way, the difference between full-time and part-time is full-time starts the time of your ticker so you can work your retirement, right? And that's what we all want. They want that title. They feel achieved. Officer McHenry says he's going to take my position when he's old enough. I think that's great if you guys retain a person that long. I mean, that's what an investment, right? But we'll see. So, yeah.
Okay.
So I can just ask that maybe tomorrow.
Is that on the agenda? No, okay.
No, thank you, Laura. That's why I put down miscellaneous communications. That's
Oh, okay.
that's
There
a
you go.
cover
See,
everything.
you covered everything. Okay, then I guess if that's it, motion to adjourn.
Second.
And the time